got water. Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me. This is really cool to see you all arriving from all around the world. Amazing. That was so cool. Right, I think we should get started. It's just gone 7, so let's just have a chat. I don't usually do, I don't know if I've ever done an Instagram live like this before, especially where I talk to camera. It's not, you probably know it's not something I do that often. I did the Sketchbook Tours last year on my Instagram stories, and that was the first time I kind of put my voice on something, doing a voiceover, but it's not normal for me to kind of talk to camera. It's not something I'm very familiar with, but I wanted to do it for a change, and I also wanted to do it to celebrate the relaunch of the sketchbook, which I've designed. I wanted to chat to you guys more about it and hear your thoughts and hear your questions about my work, about sketchbooks, about advice on how to start one or use one. If you've got any more questions about this particular sketchbook or any feedback, it'd be really good to hear from you. We'll just spend a bit of time chatting about it, and feel free to ask any questions. I'm going to try and look through them as well, just so I can stay up to date with what you guys are saying. But yeah, this is mostly sketchbook related, and I just wanted to tell you a bit about why I decided to make my own sketchbook and the reasons why I think sketchbooks are so important in the creative process. So I guess we could start from the very beginning. I found here in my cupboard my very, very first sketchbook. This is really embarrassing, but it's also really funny. This is for when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and this is, I think, the first proper sketchbook that I've kept that isn't just scraps of paper or, just this feels a bit more formal. I got given this in year 3, which was, when I was about 7, and in it, it's just full of very serious pencil drawings, some amazing cherub drawings, and serious shading. Like here, I had a thing for pencil shading rather. But yeah, it's really fun to look back on. Like I think this is actually quite a fun drawing. This it's quite confident pencil marks, which is it's quite interesting to see. And some really, I don't know who that is, but it's a very serious pencil portrait. But yeah, so I really enjoyed last year over lockdown. I decided, because it was, we were encouraged to stay at home, and I wanted to keep making work or making content and sharing stuff. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to go through my archives and to sort of look at my pile of old sketchbooks that I've gathered over the years. I've always used sketchbooks, not just for school when studying art, but also in my own time. I've always made them and put bits of paper together, and always drawn. So I thought it would be really good to do these weekly sketchbook tours, which some of you probably would have seen if you're following me last year. And it was really nice to do something regular and to also just revisit my old work and to see how I used to work and to see the kind of ideas that I had, to see how my styles changed and to see what worked and what didn't work all the way through uni. I studied illustration at Kingston University, London, and I had dozens and dozens of sketchbooks on that course. We were very much encouraged to keep a sketchbook, and it was just a really fun theme to look back on and to do a weekly tour throughout the whole of 2020, really strange year. So it was good to build that kind of routine and to use it as a little portal to go back to my former self and to see sort of these are my old Moleskins. I used to use these a lot up to recently really, but I've got them all on my shelf up there, but there's 26 in total, so I number them all on the spine and then line them all up. It's just a nice way to archive stuff. And so a range of different types of sketchbooks that I've gathered over the years. all different kinds of uses. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with people and to sort of talk about it and give this narrative over the top as well. But yeah, so this is my very first Moleskin, and I really had a thing for blue, like that shade of blue at the time. So these are some notes that I made just about my work and where I wanted to go. This was a very early days of my freelance career when I first started out in illustration, and I used to go to art exhibitions in London and make these sort of detailed notes and drawings, and this is from a Grace and Perry exhibition. And even though I'd graduated from uni, I sort of was still in the habit of setting myself these briefs, like going to museums and trying to document things and take notes, but also limit my colour palette. That's why I'm only using sort of the blue and the pencil, and yeah, sort of trying to experiment with page compositions, like isolating parts of the exhibition and then combining that with text. And even though this wasn't for any kind of reason, it was a way for me to practice, kind of like, I guess, start to build my visual language when I was still trying to build up my confidence. And that's just some song lyrics that I filled a page with. So yeah, all different types of things I filled these books with, and I just kept using them. You know, when I find something I like, I keep using it. And especially with stationery, I'm sure those that also love stationery, you find your thing that you like and you end up being quite loyal to it and quite faithful and getting it over and over again. But yeah, I should really look through some of these comments. They're so nice. Didn't realise you were a Kingston alumni. Yeah, someone else from Kingston. Favourite medium for sketchbook doodling? Emily Susan Kim was asking. I think if I had to choose just one like implement or one thing to have with my sketchbook to use, I think it would be this Muji pen. It's something I've used for years and years and years. And like I was saying a moment ago about finding something you like and just sticking with it. And, you know, if it works for you, then, you know, just keep using it and hope they don't discontinue it. They do seem to have changed these days lately, which is really worrying. But I stocked up on some of the older ones. But yeah, so this is the Muji 0.38mm. It's just a fine liner black ink pen. And yeah, I think that is my favourite thing for doodling in because I can write with it. It's my favourite pen to write with. It's really smooth, the ink flows really nicely, and it's just consistent, and it's something I can see throughout all my sketchbooks over time. And yeah, it's just a really safe bet. Like, I write absolutely everything in it. It's really nice to draw with as well. It's nice on different types of paper. So yeah, that would be my favourite tool to use. Someone is asking, can the sketchbook take watercolor? So short answer is I probably wouldn't recommend watercolor for it, just because so here it is. This is the sketchbook. The pages, although they're not super thin, they're 100 GSM, so as you can see, they're not really thin, but they're not super thick either. It's not like cartridge paper. It's quite smooth. So really lovely to draw on with coloured pencils, with brush markers, pastels, pencil, and lots of other kind of more dry media. I mean, even dry paints seem to work from what I've seen. Drier paints, acrylic, gouache, not too watery, seem to come out quite well actually. But I would say it's not like the number one choice for watercolour probably, to be honest. Though I haven't actually tried it properly, but I think the pages would buckle quite a bit. The paper is probably a bit too thin for watercolour. So how do you see past mistakes in your sketchbook? I get so frustrated that I can't make them perfect and how I want them, and I give up. So Philippa Catherine Illustration says that. This is something that I feel really, really strongly about, and this is a massive factor in designing this sketchbook. Is I think there is so much pressure on trying to get your sketchbook to look beautiful and to be almost a finished piece of art. I think that is a pressure that I've often put on myself. I think a lot of people do, and it's something I really, really want to get over, and it's something I want to encourage people to be less self-conscious about. I think this is a Bob Ross quote here, so absolute legend, but he says, there's no such thing as mistakes, just happy accidents. And I think that's so true, and that's what we were taught at uni as well. You know, at art school, we were told to just make work, don't worry about whether it's right or wrong, or pretty or ugly. So when you say, like, past mistakes, I think you should try and reframe it as not being a mistake. It's just developmental work. You know, like, it's training, it's a sketchbook is literally a place for you to do anything in, and it's a place for you to learn. It's a place for you to play around and experiment and not worry too much about the outcome, because it's a process in itself. This is something I'm so passionate about, and to be honest, it's my favourite part of any project, most projects. It's one of my favourite parts consistently, is the beginning of it, when you're in your sketchbook and you're just freewheeling and you're coming up with ideas and you're doodling and sketching and writing. And yeah, I just think that don't see it as mistakes, see it as like learning curves, and see it as a glimpse. When you look back on it in the future, I don't think you'll feel that sort of sense of shame. Like, I don't think you should judge it like that. I think you should see it as, oh, that's really funny, that's what I thought then, or oh, I remember thinking that was a really good drawing and actually it makes me cringe now. Or you might look back, you know, like I just did in that book from when I was 7, and I thought, oh, that drawing was actually quite good, that one. But I think it's all valuable, and it's not about making this perfect page or perfect sketchbook, because that's too contrived, and that's not really real life, is it? It's like learning an instrument. It's like if you want to learn to play piano, you're not going to be able to play like concertos immaculately right away. You're going to have to practice, you're going to have to play around with it, you're going to have to take lessons and learn your scales and just play a lot. And that's exactly the same for any creative process, I think. And most processes, it's a learning curve. And like, I think a sketchbook is a place where you can be safe, you can feel safe to play around and to not worry if things go wrong or don't work out, because that is exactly what it's there for. It's all valid, and I think it's just an ongoing capsule of your thoughts, what does and doesn't work, whatever. But I think you just got to let everything go. Anything goes in a sketchbook. But yeah, I hope that helps answer your question. How do you deal with making bad sketchbooks? Yeah, similar question. So I think it's just super important to try not to judge yourself too harshly and to not see it as a finished thing. Sketchbook is never going to be finished. It's never going to be, obviously you can fill it up and it can be finished, but in the sense that doesn't have to be like this finished piece of art. It's ongoing. It's, like I was saying, it's developmental. It's just about gathering everything in one place and to keep using it. Just fill it up. It's more important that you just use it than worry about what you're making. I think it's really important to just keep making it. Isotopia asks how to choose which material to carry around when travelling. Pen, pencil, watercolour, etc. Thanks. So I bring, not even just travelling, but I use this every day in the studio as well. So this is a pen wrap, and in it I've got, these are all my brush markers. So, and yes, I put them in colour order because that just makes my eyes happy. It also makes it easier to find things because I know exactly where my browns are and I can pick stuff out really, really quickly. I think that's the thing to consider, is when you're travelling or just when you're working or when you're on the move or whatever, just make it as easy for yourself as possible. You don't want cumbersome stuff that's going to weigh you down and be a pain in the arse to carry around. I think it's about making stuff quickly accessible. So this means I can see all my pens. I'm not like rummaging around in a pencil case. I can see everything. They're my favourite colours. They're the ones that I've tried and tested and I know I like. And then in addition to that, I also bring my watercolour pencils. So I keep them in a clear case, again, so that I can see through it and I can kind of see the colours that I'm after and quickly grab them out. So yeah, this has got all my Caran d'Ache Super Colour soft pencils in, and so I take that and the pen wrap, and that's how I make most of my work, whether I'm travelling or not. It's the combination of the sort of brush marker pens, which look like this. These are made by Tombow, so like these brush pens, which come in really lovely pigments, nice bright colours, and big range of colours, and then also the Super Colour soft pencil by Caran d'Ache. So that combination is what gives my work that texture, and so yeah, that's how I travel around as well. It's just easy, it's tried and tested, and you get the feel for things as you carry on. It's just all about practice. Like the more you go away or the more you travel about and make work on the move, the more you'll start to get an idea of what works for you when you're travelling. And it's just about narrowing that down and travelling with, don't bring all your art materials with you. I've done this a few times before where I've brought paints, I've brought boards to work on, big bits of paper, and so often I just didn't end up using it. It just put way too much pressure on it. So just bring something compact. That's also why I made this sketchbook this size, is because it's not really big and it's not really small. It's really easy to put in your bag, and it's just a friendly size. I think that's how I describe it. It's like a friendly portable size. But yeah, just know what works for you and get to know what works for you, and you can start to limit your toolkit down for day-to-day work as well as when you're travelling. Can you save this live video? Derry Draw says yes. I'm also doing a backup recording in the other room, just in case it doesn't save, because that has happened before and that was a bit of a nightmare when I was doing it elsewhere. But yes, I'm going to save this and post it to my IGTV over on at Nina Cosford Sketchbook Instagram. So it's going to live there so that you can go back and watch it and other people can see. Ella Flood Design asks, can you take out the sketchbook pages easily? Do you know what? I haven't actually tried that. They're not perforated, so I'm not sure how easily they'll come out. Let me try. I've got a test one here that I make scribbles in and stuff. I will try now. It's not very neat, is it? It kind of looks like someone's chomped out of that. But answer I think is probably not super easy if you just want to rip it. But obviously you can score it, you can cut it with scissors, maybe use a blade for that. But because it's stitch bound and not perforated, they're quite tightly bound in there. So yes, that is something to keep experimenting with. Thanks for the lovely comments, by the way. Oh, that's a really... Karishaya Bora says, how do you prevent yourself from turning your art into content? That's a really good question, really, really relevant. Something I'm often asking, and I think a lot of content creators, which I can't believe is a word, will ask as well, I'm sure. It does feel like a sort of never-ending quest to keep making work and being relevant and post regularly. There is that pressure, I think, on a lot of people. Luckily, I think that pressure, if you can call it pressure, I think that that does motivate me to make work, as well as wanting to make work anyway. I think that combination of wanting to share it with my audience, with my followers, that does actually spur me on quite a lot, and that does inspire me. So I think it's just how you frame it, really. Obviously, you don't want to be a slave to it. You know, there's plenty of other stuff going on in life besides social media, and it's super important to set your boundaries. This is something I could talk about for ages, but yeah, it's in short, I think, luckily my interests kind of cross over quite well with the kind of stuff I like to post online and the stuff that I think my people that follow my work like to see as well and relate to, and it kind of goes quite well. But yeah, as with anything, I think it's just about keeping that balance and reminding yourself why you like making work, and it's still got to be enjoyable. I think that's really important with any kind of job or any kind of pursuit. I think as long as you're enjoying it and as long as you feel like you're... it's not quite satisfying because that's like an ongoing thing, isn't it? But I think if you're fulfilling some kind of curiosity in yourself, or you feel like you're expressing something that you want to express, or exploring something you want to explore, whether it's content for other people to see as well or not, I think that can still be stimulating. And I think it can work. But yeah, it all comes down to the balance. It's quite really good question. Go further. Sorry, I'm probably not pronouncing these usernames right. Would you consider making the sketchbook in different sizes? I actually did have thoughts of that to begin with. So this is the Moleskin I was telling you about. That was the sort of large plain notebook, which, you know, I do like the size, but the thing is, when I wanted to design my own, I made a point to make it not like any other sketchbook. Even the ones that I liked, I kind of put together elements that I liked from various different notebooks and sketchbooks, and thought, how can I turn this into something different? How can I make it something really customized to me, something I like working in, and something I think others will like working into? And a lot of it came down to the size and not wanting to make something very big. That said, I also work in sketchbooks this kind of size. So these are pocket journals. These are made by Paperways, and I take these travelling with me. So this is one of my travel journals. Really nice portable size, quick to fill. They haven't got loads of pages. They're just staple bound. But there's something really nice and informal about them. So I knew I didn't want to make it that size, but at the same time, it would be really fun to develop some kind of journal or mini sketchbook at one point. But, you know, cross that bridge when we come to it. That might be further in the future. But for now, I'm just focusing on this size, just because, like I said, it's not really big, it's not really small, it's kind of both, and it's not really tall. So I don't love A sizes. In England we have like A4, A5, A6, etc., which are standardised dimensions, standard sizes for paper and books a lot of the time. Not every book, but I really didn't want to stick to those proportions. I wanted something a bit more square. So this does it for me. It kind of feels a bit like an 8x10 print, but shrunk a little bit. So it's kind of a little bit more square. It's not super tall. You can open it out into a nice sort of landscape format. So yeah, for now, really, really happy with just having this size available. But further down the line, who knows, maybe a smaller thing could be fun. Because I know that I personally love using small journals like this. Also for sketching in. So I like to mix up the different sizes. Just something quite portable. This is hardback, but which is quite useful, I think, in protecting something small like this, because you can chuck it in your bag and travel around with it. So in this instance, I think it's nice having that sort of hardback. But yeah, I do really like working at this size as well. So maybe one day. Watch this space. Let's have a look. 3 a.m. in Korea. That is good effort staying up that late. Thank you for joining me. Oh, VA Clodo says your sketchbooks are 100% perfect. That's such good feedback. Thank you so much. I've had some really, really nice feedback from people about it, and yeah, I'm just so happy, because as soon as I saw the sample, I was very, very happy with how it came out, and I was really, really excited to see what other people thought. And yeah, I think it's really encouraging to hear other people commenting on things like the size of it and the texture of the paper, and just the feel of the cover and how comfortable it makes them feel. And that was probably my number one aim with this sketchbook, was to make something that feels friendly and safe, and a place where you can just play around and be yourself. I think that is the biggest aim of this sketchbook. Is it's for anyone to use, like whether you're new to it or you are a creative professional, or you just love to draw as a hobby or develop creative ideas. I think it's a nice thing to offer to everyone, and everyone should give it a go. And you can put anything in there like that. I don't think there's many rules to keeping a sketchbook. But yeah, that's lovely feedback. Thank you so much. And I've got a couple of questions here about digital artwork. So I use a combination of physically drawing, like I showed you my brush markers and pencils, and I scan that in. If I do a physical drawing, I scan it in through my scanner, touch it up on the computer, and just make a few tweaks and stuff, and then that's ready. That's one way to digitalise it. Another way is when I work on the iPad, so I use Procreate with the Apple Pencil. That's if I'm drawing purely digitally, and I use like one of the pencil effects. So I really like the 6B pencil and the Narinda pencil are my two favourite tools on there. I've got a highlights reel, not reel, muddling up all my Instagram words. On my highlights there's a iPad reel which says a bit more about my process and the kind of way I like to work on it. So those are the two ways, I guess. I also have a Wacom tablet, so I use that if I want to draw directly with my computer and not use the iPad. But it's usually between drawing physically in my sketchbook or on paper, scanning it in, or it's just on the iPad. So someone's asking, how can I buy your sketchbooks? They are back in stock now after a few months of not being available because the first set sold out very, very fast. I was kind of blown away with how many of you bought it. Not just one, people were buying 2 or 3 gifts for friends. They were stocking up. So yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, they sold out much quicker than I was anticipating. I put in a second order and it just arrived a week ago. So they're now back in stock, and you can go on the link in my bio. If you just click in my bio, you'll see the link, and I think near the top it says Sketchbook out now. So you can go straight to my online shop. We ship worldwide, and you can enter your shipping details and calculate shipping and stuff like that. So yeah, all the sketchbook stuff is available there, and so go take a look. And also do make sure that you're following at Nina Cosford Sketchbook, which is my special Instagram for just sketchbook stuff. So it's where I'm talking all about this. I'm sharing other people's work that they've done in this, which is a really fun thing to do as well. Just sort of expand on that community of sketchbook users, sketchbookers. It's also where I like to share sort of advice and tips and tricks and all things like this. So do make sure that you're following that, because I'm frequently putting stuff on there and chatting about stuff. So yeah. MZA Rudd, are you completely loyal to Tombow or do you use other markers? It depends what I'm drawing really. I do use a few different types now and then, but I'd say Tombow are like my number one choice, I think. Sometimes I use Copic markers if I'm doing portraits, just because they come up with a nice sort of flat colour, a flat coverage. Tombow markers I think have a bit of texture in, but I really like that, especially on the sketchbook paper. It's just got this, where is it? You can just see it's like, it just has a, can you see that? It's not super flat, but I really like that because it has a very tactile feel to it. And yeah, I think that for me just works. The way that it overlaps, the way that you can build up richness in the colour on the paper. So yeah, I would say I'm fairly loyal to them. But then it's always nice to keep trying stuff as well. So YouTube channel, someone's asking. Further. I do actually have a YouTube channel. Not that I don't upload super frequently. I try to, but yeah, it is something I'm still adding to. If you go on, if you search Nina Cosford on YouTube, you'll see there's a bunch of different playlists up there. There's some travel videos that my partner and I made over the years of when we've gone to various places around the world, and I've done sort of reportage sketchbook drawing whilst travelling. And so we've got a series of videos all about that, showing the making of the drawing and sort of in the setting of where we were. There's one about the journey I made on the Trans-Siberian Railway, which was an amazing trip I took a couple of years ago and made a book about. So there's a video all about that. There's also Sketchbook Tours on there, so you'll see there's different playlists. So check out the Sketchbook Tours, which I refilmed earlier this year, similar to the ones I made in lockdown on Instagram stories, but a bit more professionally done, clearer, higher definition, better quality. So yeah, there's a few on there. I'm going to be adding more as well, but go and have a look on the channel. Steve's chap, I feel frustrated because I like so many mediums and I don't know what to choose to create with. It makes me so frustrated. I often block and lose my inspiration and motivation. Yeah, that's tricky when there's a sort of hurdle that you feel that you keep hitting. It can be lots of different things for different people. I used to find it tricky to know kind of like where to draw and how big to make something. And that's why I think starting to set yourself some little, like I was saying earlier about a brief, that really helped me because I would often want to draw so many different things and have so many interests. It was quite hard to narrow it down, and especially when I was still trying to find my style when I was at university. I think what really helped me and what could be worth trying is trying to limit your tools and your way of making work. And that's not to say do it permanently, but for example, you could say, these are the 3 colours that I'm going to use. You know, you pick out 3 colours. These are the mediums that I'm going to use. So only use a certain type of media, and I'm going to work in my sketchbook. So it's limited in a way. But what that can do is really help you kind of zone in on what it is you're drawing. It removes some other factors, and it can be quite a good way to discipline yourself, at least temporarily, when drawing a certain thing for a certain purpose. So when you feel yourself getting frustrated and wanting to use everything and draw everything and anything, I mean, it's a good problem to have in a way, because you know that you're open to lots of different media and subject matter perhaps. But I think maybe try and set yourself a brief, try and limit your colour palette and try and think of what you're aiming to make, and have a finite approach to making that piece or page in your sketchbook or a series or whatever, and see if you can sort of do it from beginning to end. See how you feel about it. It could be something you build on and do more of. It could be something you think, do you know what, that didn't really work for me. But either way, it's a different approach. It's a different way of trying to overcome that creative block. But yeah, for me, setting limits, setting kind of that brief has really helped me get out of that. And that was something that got drummed into us during university, is that sort of strictness and restraint. But weirdly, it allows you quite a lot of creative freedom, because once you know where your boundaries are, that's when you go and create. So yeah, it might be worth a try. Oh, it's really nice feedback from people. Thank you. When did you start your career as an illustrator? I wish to see your old sketchbook. So yeah, another reason to go and check out the YouTube channel is there are some of my earliest sketchbooks on there, and it's just me having a chat about how my work's changed since then and the kind of things that I was developing over the years. Here's another old sketchbook that I'll show you as well, just to sort of show the early days of when I was still figuring out how to draw people and in a certain style. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. I've always had fun in sketchbooks, but I think this is when, so this was back in probably about 9 or 10 years ago now. And you can see I'm trying to like come up with compositions on the page that are quite finished. So I didn't plan this one or anything. I just did the finals kind of straight away, and then I would have scanned it in or photographed it, and that would have been the finished piece. But this was kind of setting a brief for myself. So I went into a shop in Hastings, where I live, my hometown. This was a second-hand shop, like a junk shop. And I just picked out, 10 things that I really liked in the shop and arranged them almost like they were on the wall of the shop. So I did a drawing of them in my sketchbook, and yeah, I just really enjoyed doing things like that, not for any particular reason. You know, I saw a cute dog on the street, so I took a photo of it and then drew it later. I use it to make notes from meetings. I documented my outfits one week. Every day I drew what I was wearing. That's me in the middle when I used to have blonde hair. And yeah, just over time got a bit more confident with my line work and how I edited things down. I even took it travelling with me, so I went to Amsterdam to do a job, and here are some sort of journal entry pages where I write about each day, and sort of varying the type of handwriting to distinguish each day. And that's the view from the hotel window. So some pretty Dutch buildings. And you can see I didn't take that many materials with me. I tried to limit what I was carrying. So I just brought sort of my usual pens, black fine liner, and some, I haven't used pencil in this one, but yeah, quite limited colour palette, but that made it easier in a way, like I was saying, to focus on what I was drawing. And so yeah, this is, a lot of the pages are quite, I guess you'd say, ugly, but not, you know, not pieces of art. It's just useful. It's just me writing, just making loads and loads of notes, but every now and again there'd be like a little vignette or a little piece that I would then scan in and share. I think I posted that online back in the day. I can't actually remember what question I'm answering now. When did you start your career? So yeah, this bit was a little bit after I started, but I went freelance straight after leaving university. So I graduated in 2011. So 10 years ago, almost exactly 10 years ago now, I started working full-time as a freelance illustrator. And obviously there's been ups and downs and bumps in the road, but as with anything, it's all, you know, it's all a learning curve. And yeah, happy that I'm still here, I'm still doing it. Leela asks, hey, I love your illustrations, thank you. When did you realise you were satisfied with your illustration style? I don't know if satisfied is ever going to be a word that I use. I think as with most people, whenever I start a drawing, I want that to be better than the last one. I want that to be, I think, you know, you set your bar high. I'm super self-critical of my work, but I think that's what pushes me forward to want to be better. And there's, you know, lots of other illustrators and creatives whose work I really admire, and I think it's good to have that balance of criticism of your own work, but also confidence in what you've already done. And looking back through your old sketchbooks is another great reason why it's good to look back on them, is you can either see something that maybe didn't work, or you think, oh, that's not a very successful page or whatever, but it also could be quite enlightening and reassuring. You think that's a really good idea, or I really like that drawing, and you might want to reuse some of that stuff. So it can be satisfying in different ways. I think it's about being self-assured. I think that's really important, and to have confidence in what you're doing. Maybe more so what you're trying to say. I think that's really important, like your message and the reason why you want to make work. I think, if anything, that's the most important thing to be close to satisfied about, I think, is trying to express what you're trying to express. And that might change over time. You know, motives change and messages might change. Your narrative is going to change. Things are always changing. So your style will change as well. And I think it's good just to be appreciative of what you've been doing and what you're striving for. I think that's really important. More than being satisfied, I think it's about recognising what's worked for you, what you've made work, how you've succeeded, and how you can improve. I think it's just an ongoing thing. It's going to be going on forever and ever. Oh, that's great. People have got their sketchbooks arriving today. Oh, that's awesome. And Ella Flood Designs asking, how did the style develop? Did you graduate from uni with the same style, or has it developed since then? It's definitely developed since then. I can see similarities with what I was starting to work like at uni. So, for example, limited colour palette, lots of use of white space, negative space, and those kinds of approaches, which I think I've sort of stuck to and built upon as time's gone on. I guess the narrative side of my work is what's developed the most, and the kind of themes that I work with, I feel like I've really narrowed that down in some ways as I've got more established as a creative and as a professional. I think it's become slightly clearer what my voice is and the kind of themes I work with, and what feels relevant or right to me. So that's probably the thing that's developed the most. But stylistically, it's changed as well. Yeah, definitely. French IE is asking if I'd think of creating a new illustrated book like the Trans-Siberian book. Oh, that would be really lovely. I did have plans for that pre-COVID, but sadly that had to get put on hold, maybe cancelled, don't know yet. But I would love to travel again and make a book about it. In some form of destination, so maybe a city or a place where I could respond and make a book about being in that place and my time there. And but yeah, that's going to have to wait for a while, sadly, just because of the limitations on travel at the moment. So hence why I used that time to develop this sketchbook, because I still wanted to make something new, but I kind of shifted my focus after doing the sketchbook tours. I wanted to develop a product that sort of I wanted to use and I wanted to share with other people, and wanted other people to try out and use as well. Hello from Egypt. Oh, thanks for coming. Someone's got a tote bag as well. So Steve's Chap asks, what do you think about combining your sketchbook as a journal, grocery list, to-dos, sketchbook? 100%, that is what I use it for as well. Like, it's a combination of everything. I've got super mundane stuff in my sketchbook, really personal stuff. Sometimes I just stream of consciousness style, just do writing in there, journal stuff. Sometimes I do final artwork in there, which ends up being the finished piece for a client or for another project. I put ideas in there, I put scraps in there, I stick things in, I put notes in there, and grocery lists, everything. So yeah, I use it for everything. And to be honest, that's what has made me feel less pressured about keeping a sketchbook, is use it for everything. Let it just serve you. Don't feel judged, or there's nothing that should or shouldn't go in. It's there for you to be used. So just, yeah, I say anything goes. Jules Russell Illustration asks, what are your thoughts about having a daily sketchbook practice? Is this something you do? Sorry, I just gotta hydrate. Daily. Yeah, I think practice is a good word. I think that a daily practice of a lot of things can be really healthy. Routine, like I really like routines, doing certain things, especially in times of uncertainty or over the last sort of 18 months, having that kind of routine or a daily practice of some kind has been really beneficial. And I'd say I start most days by making a to-do list in my sketchbook. Like I'll just write the date and set out like the day's tasks, and yeah, I just see that as a way of warming up. Like it's just I guess you could say that's kind of a daily practice. You know, it's just about being in the habit of using it, but not putting too much pressure on. I'm just trying to find a page in my sketchbook to show you like an example, but just like making lists but titling them so that it kind of looks quite nice on the page, even if it's a really boring list. Or so yeah, I'm always in the practice of using my sketchbook, even if it's just purely functionally, just for functional reasons. Just be in the habit of always having it on you, and always having a pen or at least just one tool on you, so that you can still travel light. But I think it's about not being able to come up with excuses to not use it. If your sketchbook's always in your bag or your journal or whatever, with a pen, you know that wherever you are, whatever time of day it is, whatever's going on, you can make work. If you suddenly get an idea, you can write it down. If you just feel compelled to journal or whatever, I think it's about being prepared to use your sketchbook or to draw or to write, rather than, it doesn't have to be as strict as daily or I have to do this every day. That could be cool for maybe a limited period of time. So there may be a week where you want to set those kind of prompts, I guess in a way like Inktober and things like that, where it's a concentrated amount of time and you have a set project and you have prompts and you try and build that kind of body of work through that. So maybe temporarily that could work really well, and set yourself themes to draw that day, or create a series of something. So each day you add to that series, and at the end of it you've got this collection. So yeah, I think that's a really nice idea, doing sort of daily drawing practices like that. But yeah, daily sketchbook practice, I'd say I use it more or less daily, and at least I'm always prepared to use it. So I always have it on me just in case, and I have my pens with me. So yeah, I think it's good to be in the practice of being ready to make work, if inspiration hits or whatever. Ella Flood's asking, is the mini tote bag designed to carry the sketchbook? Yes, it is. Have I got one here? Yeah, I'll get one. So this is the tote bag. Sorry, it's a bit crumpled, this one. But yeah, the whole idea of this was to be able to carry it around in this really easily. So it's quite small, you can still get it on your shoulder. But I wanted to do a little twin set, kind of a combo, so that you can have something to carry it around in. Like, I love having book bags and tote bags. There's something really, something really nice about carrying it around in its own designated bag. There's enough room for other things in there, and it's quite a handy little bag anyway. It's not very big, and yeah, it's quite a friendly portable size. But yeah, it is designed to fit the sketchbook in. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Pin2 is saying, I was happy when I was drawing, but now I struggle to hold pencils until I see your sketchbook. I want to hold it again. That's really sweet. I hope you get back into drawing soon. Someone in Japan bought the book My Name is Girl. That's awesome. Thanks. That was a while ago now that I made that book. That seems like a very long time ago. But that's really nice to know people are still reading it and seeing it. Oh, thanks, Maggie. How long does it take you to do a page of illustration in your sketchbook? Ella's asking. Totally depends on what the page is. I'm trying to find an example here. Something that's more finished like that is, probably half an hour to an hour, maybe. It depends if I'm drawing in situ, I try and draw quite quickly. So there's this kind of pressing time to try and get the work done in. But it does depend, something like that took me about an hour because of the characters and the detail. Something that's just a pattern-based piece where I just wanted to fill it with different leaf shapes, so I studied different leaves, and that probably took about half an hour, 45 minutes. Usually it doesn't take that long. If I'm making notes, like that's a page of notes all about sketchbook, that didn't take me very long. That would probably only take about 20 minutes, half an hour, because it's not so much drawing, it's more sort of note taking and breaking up the page into different paragraphs and stuff. So Yeah, it really depends. If I'm doing, where is it? So day before yesterday, I drew that out in my hometown, in Hastings Old Town, and I was sat there for about 2 hours. So this is a longer piece, although it doesn't look necessarily like it took 2 hours. I really took my time with the making the colours and like combining the pen and the pencil to make these colours and the textures and everything. So yeah, because this was an observational drawing and it was done in situ, I was sat outside on a wall opposite the view and drawing it. That took longer, and it was really nice not hurrying because I was sat down, I was comfortable, and it's nice to do longer durations as well. That links quite well to the next question by Scribblue, who asks, do you ever feel self-conscious when drawing in public? I love how you draw everywhere. No, I don't feel self-conscious. I used to. It definitely took quite a lot of practice. Being a student at university, we were encouraged, we were told to go out drawing a lot, bring our sketchbooks with us everywhere. And we were taken, once a week location drawing, often in London, not far from where the university was based. So it was all about loosening up and not being self-conscious, and even if it was raining or bad weather or it was freezing cold, if you're on a busy tube train, you're on a busy street, you're whatever, we really were disciplined to overcome those obstacles and still make work. And that was really exciting and really challenging as well. Some days I didn't enjoy it. Some days I thought the work was absolutely rubbish that I was making. But it's not about that. It was about getting outside and looking outwards and observing and just trying to document stuff. And the more you do that and the more familiar it becomes, the less self-conscious you get, because you get so in the zone. I kind of don't realise if people are stopping and staring or trying to talk to me. I often have headphones in now these days when I work. I play music or whatever just so that I can really focus, and eventually you just become less self-conscious, I think. But it's different for different people. But yeah, it's something I have built up confidence with now over the years. Lark Markey asks, are you doing most of these travel drawings in the moment? Combination really. So like that piece I just showed you, that was done, where is it? So that was done in situ. But sometimes when I'm travelling, I just take photographs and then I draw up from that reference later. A lot of the time I don't do it. I'll look up a photo or research it or Google it or take a photo on my phone, and then that's what I will draw up later. So yeah, that's a way that I can sort of capture it whilst I'm still on the trip, but also do it from photographs, because it's not always practical to do it there and then. I usually do it at the end of the day or at the start of the day. So I'll wake up early or stay up a bit later and write up that day's journal entry. And that's when I'll sort of reflect on what happened that day, what I saw, and I'll gather all the reference while I'm out. So it's a combination. It's really nice to draw on the spot, but sometimes it's not always practical. And you might be travelling with other people and it might just not be that feasible. So I'd say about maybe 30 to 40% of the drawings are done in situ. Maybe even less than that. But it's a combination of doing them remotely and also on site. Oh, it's really nice to see so many comments, thank you. And that's really nice feedback from Zeba about following the Sketchbook Tour series. Was a really lovely thing to follow during a stressful year. Yeah, that's really nice. Nice feedback. Wow, so many places. Russia, Thailand, Turkey, Nigeria, Switzerland. Hello. Sorry, I'm just taking a moment to actually read some of the comments. Been banging on talking. I haven't actually read through all of these. Managing social media. Kayla Stark, can you talk about how you manage social media into your daily work schedule? Your posts are so fun. Thank you, Kayla. I do try and factor it in, but sometimes I'm just a bit too busy to be posting super regularly. I try and post as much as I can, and some weeks I'm more available to work on self-initiated pieces than others. Depends what my schedule's like, if I've got commission work on, client work. But generally, I try and, if I can't make a piece to post on the grid, I'll at least try and do a bunch of stories once a week or a few times a week. And that's the nice thing about stories, is they're a bit more throwaway. They're a bit more, slightly less pressure, I think, than posting like onto the grid. And it's a way that I can share stuff that's a bit outside of my normal subject matter that I draw. So if I go on a trip somewhere, if I go outside or go to a shop or whatever, it makes for quite a fun piece of content to share quite immediately without it being necessarily linked to my work. I try and factor it in almost daily, but sometimes just a few times a week I'll try and make sure that I'm posting something. Ella Flood's asking, do you use your Tombow markers and then colour pencil over them? Yes, that's the order that I do it in. So I might sketch it out as well in pencil first, in like the colour pencil that it's going to be. Then I'll put the brush marker in, and then I often use, not all the time, but put colour pencil over the top, and that's what gives it that texture. Someone's asking about scanning. The colours can turn out differently. Yeah, it does depend on what scanner you've got. Just read reviews, see what other illustrators are using. Works differently depending on what computer you've got, what software you use, how you edit it. Generally, my scans can come out a bit yellow, so I often bump the blues up a bit, but it totally depends on your setup. But I often have to, all the time actually, I have to boost the colours a bit because it can come out looking quite flat. Sometimes a bit yellowy, and sometimes the contrast isn't as good, so I do often amp that up and enhance that when I'm editing it afterwards. Chroma Pie Studios says, I also love the sketchbook. Do you ever make your own sketchbooks by hand? Not these days, but I used to. I've got one here actually. I used to love binding my own sketchbooks. This is just made out of A4 copier paper, like printer paper that you'd photocopy on or put in your printer. And I used to really like working on cheap paper or like really scrappy rubbish paper because I didn't feel precious about it. And this one I dyed with tea bags. This was when I was really into like sepia paper, off-white. I didn't want bright white paper, so you can see like the texture. It's really scruffy. And this is just bound with thread. But yeah, I used to do it a lot as a student. I used to make my own books. I mean, the paper's so thin, but I still painted on it. And it came out really, really crinkly. I quite like that in a way. I quite like how soft the colour looks. And yeah, I don't make sketchbooks by hand anymore, but it's something I'd like to do again. It is quite fun. Did a bookbinding course at uni. And yeah, I'd recommend that to anyone. It's a really good skill to learn, bookbinding, even if you're just making them quite scruffily. I'm going to save this live. Lauren's asking. It's going to be posted on my IGTV on the Sketchbook channel. Whoa, it's 8. Okay, I've been talking for an hour now. Might have to wrap this up soon. I'm going to try and read through the last of these comments. Thank you so much for these lovely messages. Emily Susan Kim's asking, she says, you sketch little clouds into your Insta story post and they are so cute. Is that on the iPad done right in Instagram. So I just use a pen stylus with my phone. It's always done on my phone, and that's what gets the sort of neater line work. I don't do it with my finger. I used to, but no, my fingers aren't. That would definitely not be as neat if it was just with my fingers. Lots of people asking about courses. Yeah, that's something I haven't done, but definitely something to consider. It's nice hearing that feedback. Maya's asking, what do you do with your old sketchbooks? So I keep all of them. I don't think I've ever thrown one away. That's really, really important, because even if you hate it at the time, or you find it embarrassing, or you think it's ugly, please don't throw it away. They are priceless archives. Even if you just look back in the future and you laugh at it, because it's part of you, it's part of your progress, it's part of how you thought back then. It's valuable stuff. You know, it's like old photographs. You might look back at an old photo and think, oh my goodness, look at my hair then, or what was I wearing, or, you know, whatever. But you wouldn't just burn all those photographs. That's part of your history. It's part of your process. It's part of your creative journey. So please keep your sketchbooks. Please keep them. Yeah, I keep mine up on a shelf. I try and keep them quite organised, hence why, so I number them on the edges, and I date them as well. Make sure you put the date in your sketchbook as often as you can. They're really good points of reference to look back on, and it just contextualises it. So yeah, I like to keep them either in a cupboard, or most of them I get up on my shelf in my studio. I line them all up so that if I ever want to pull one out or think, oh, what was that idea that I had back then? Or same with my travel journals. So I date them all. I write where I went at the top, and then the date underneath. And it's just a way of archiving. So yeah, I would definitely try and find a system to keep your old sketchbooks organised if you can, or at least just keep them somewhere safe, and remember to look back through them in the future, because it is really good fun. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this up in a minute, guys, because yeah, I've been talking a lot and yeah, so many good questions, and lovely comments from people. Really, really nice for you to all join. Thank you for taking the time to watch this and join from all over the world. That's so cool to see how far and wide people are watching from. And yeah, I'm going to upload this onto the IGTV, so make sure you go to @Nina Cosford Sketchbook Instagram, and that's where it's going to live, and I'm going to keep sharing sketchbook stuff there. And yeah, it's been really nice to talk to you about this, and it won't be the last time I do one of these. I think I should do these again. It's been really, really nice just chatting with you guys, and yeah, it's not something I often do, but yeah, it's been really nice just having a chat. And yeah, hope you all have a good weekend. And yeah, really lovely comments. Thank you so much again. Thanks for following my work. And yeah, I will speak to you soon. Bye.